Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. We discuss 5 questions in about 10 minutes, and I am very excited to introduce our guest today. This is Nick McKinley. He is the CEO of DeliverFund, and they are out of both Whitefish, Montana, and Dallas, Texas. So, Nick, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. What would you like the audience to know about DeliverFund?
Well, DeliverFund, we're a very unique organization in the fight against human trafficking in that we specialize on the intelligence side of that fight. So we equip, train, and advise law enforcement and other authorities on who human traffickers are, where they are, what they're doing, and more importantly, where they can go to arrest them.
That sounds fascinating, first of all, but so very important. That is a passion of mine as well, to do whatever we can to stop this human trafficking and enslavement and everything else that's going on. So first of all, thank you for doing this. How long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this since 2014.
So 2014. So you've got a lot of experience then. I'm sure you've got all sorts of interesting stories to tell about that. We won't get into too much of that today, but again, a big emphasis and a big thank you for the work that you're doing to try and stop all of that. Well, let's jump to the questions that we've got outlined for today. The first question, share with the audience an example of collaboration within a team that you've had.
Yeah, I think the DeliverFund team is really the best example. We're a public-private partnership with law enforcement. We've got over 60 people spread across the United States who are working on fighting human trafficking, either on a full-time basis or a near full-time basis for our part-time contractors. And that collaboration and that collaborative effect of this, the team of teams model that I learned from my background in both military special operations and at the CIA as well, that team of teams model of just having, an intent and a vision that I push down to all of the various teams, and then the teams around the country are all working independently, yet coming together to collaborate on cases as human traffickers move both around the United States and around the world.
Well, that would definitely a very unique perspective on what it takes to collaborate effectively within a team, but thank you for sharing that. Question number 2, I hear from other leaders that it can be a challenge to measure engagement within a team. What are your thoughts?
I actually think engagement within a team is very easy to measure. Either you have the fruit of their labor, which you can measure, or you don't. So a team that is not engaged has no fruit. A team that is engaged has a lot of fruit. So really the performance of the team as measured by their execution of the mission and the task they've been assigned really shows you the engagement of the team. Then you can add the personal stuff that's subjective, that you can't quite measure. Does the team seem to have a lot of drama, or does it not seem to have a lot of drama? Does the team seem to get along within the 4 walls of work, or do they not? So I actually think that it's pretty easy to measure team engagement.
So that's an interesting perspective. So what you're describing, then, it sounds like, is first measure the productivity or the output of the team, and then you can kind of add on what I would define as the culture of the team, and how well, as you described, how well people are getting along and some of those kinds of things. That's a great formula. I like that. So that's a great way to measure engagement. Very well. Question number 3, based on your experience, Nick, what is one attribute or quality of a confident leader?
Trust. If you don't have the trust of your team and you don't establish, maintain, and cultivate a culture of trust within the team, then your teams just won't be productive and your ideas won't work. You can get things done over the short term, but over the long term, things won't work. So really, as a leader, you have to be confident in not only trusting your people, but also being as transparent as you can and helping them to trust you.
I like that a lot. Trust is critical. You have to have that trust. And so I like how you describe that, especially in your line of work. That trust has to be extremely high, that you've got the right people doing the right thing at the right time. So right. Great comment. Question number 4, is there someone that you'd like to recognize that has made an impact in your life?
There's so many people, but I think ultimately it first and foremost comes down to our parents. Whether we like to believe it or not, our parents are the foundation that we usually build the rest of our lives on. And so their work and the work that they did in us is largely responsible for catapulting us into the future, good or bad. And then also my wife, what we do at DeliverFund is incredibly hard. I run multiple companies. At one point I was in grad school while I was doing all of that, and none of that would have been possible without all the things that my wife was doing behind the scenes to keep the ship afloat.
Boy, I'll tell you, we all rely on our spouses, don't we, to make sure that I do the same thing with my wife. She's very good about making sure that there's a certain foundation that's in the home, so to speak, that's running smoothly. But it sounds great. And I really appreciate you recognizing family members like your parents and your wife and whatnot. But thank you so much for sharing that. All right, our last question. Tell us a little bit about your first job.
So my first job was actually working for my dad. And that's really where I learned the work ethic that was required to succeed as an entrepreneur. Also, I learned that you should probably pay people more than my dad paid me. But you know, there was no excuse for he had a bunch of rental properties, and my responsibility was taking care of those rental properties, and that meant, you know, backpack full of tools in the winter on my bike, riding through the Montana snow to get to my job, and, you know, not showing up because there was snow, or because I had to ride my bike, or because I didn't think ahead to bring the right tool. That wasn't an excuse for not accomplishing the task I was assigned.
Boy, that sounds very familiar, because, boy, I'll tell you, employers in most cases don't accept excuses of any kind. They just want the job done. And so if
Right.
you forget something or don't do it right, you just spent time learning how to do it right the second time, I guess. So that's a great example. Thank you for sharing that. And Nick, thank you again for being on the podcast today. How can people find you?
You can find us by going to our website at deliverfund.org. We're on all the social media platforms at DeliverFund. And you can find me personally at DeliverFund Nick, that's NIC, on all the social platforms as well.
Fantastic. And again, our best wishes to you and your organization for helping to eradicate all of this human trafficking that's going on. So our best wishes and good luck to all of that you're working on.
Well, thank you for doing your part to shine a light on this important subject.
Very happy to help. It's not much, but it's everything that we can do. So that's great. Thank you. This is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. For more ideas, go to teamengagementpodcast.com. And we also encourage you to subscribe to the podcast on the audio platforms, or subscribe to the YouTube channel if you prefer to watch the interviews. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.